This way, quickly!
What's Dispatch, we have a code blue at the Orca tank, requesting immediate medical backup.
911, what's your emergency?
The whale's got her! He's shaking her! She can't get to the surface!
Ma'am, who exactly is in the water?
The trainer! Elena, he's holding her down! She's not moving! Please, send someone now!
What unfolded next wasn't just a tragic accident. It was a nightmare, one that played out in front of hundreds of stunned witnesses and left behind a silence that still echoes through the glass today. This is the story of Elisa Hartley and Moros, the orca she trusted most. If this story grips you, if it makes you pause or feel something you can't quite shake, then don't look away. Like this video, subscribe to Animal Attack Archives, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because sometimes the most powerful truths don't scream, they drown in silence. Before she could even swim, Elisa Hartley could imitate the haunting call of a whale. While other children built castles on the beach, she sat still, eyes closed, hands cupped like ears, trying to memorize the rhythm of the tides. By the age of 10, she knew the migration paths of humpbacks and could distinguish an orca's song from a dolphin's chatter. Her childhood wasn't one of cartoons and sleepovers. It was filled with notebooks, salt-stained boots, and the names of creatures no one else bothered to learn. Elisa wasn't chasing attention. She was chasing understanding. By 16, she was volunteering at a coastal aquarium, scrubbing algae from tanks and asking questions that made the marine biologists pause. Not because she wanted to impress, but because she truly wanted to know. What made a sea lion's eyes dim? Why did one orca play while another floated motionless for hours? She graduated with honors in marine biology, specializing in animal behavior. But what set her apart couldn't be graded. It was the way animals responded to her, like they recognized something in her voice, something safe, something real. When Oyanna's Park offered her a position just months after graduation, Elisa didn't hesitate. To outsiders, it was a dream job. To her, it was a calling. She wasn't there to train animals to perform tricks. Language, but they're always speaking. And she listened, not with commands or force, but with presence, with patience. Elisa didn't see herself above the animals she worked with. She stood beside them. She believed in coexistence, and that belief, pure, unwavering, would eventually bring her closer to Moros than anyone had ever dared. Too close. He was beautiful in the way storms are, silent, vast, and never fully understood. Moros wasn't born in a tank. He was taken from the open sea, torn from his pod off the icy coast of Greenland when Chapter 1. The girl who listened to the sea, he was just 3 years old. The sky had thundered that day, locals said, as if the ocean itself mourned what was taken from it. By the time Elisa met him, Moros had spent over 20 years in captivity. He had grown massive, over 22 feet long, weighing nearly 12,000 pounds. His dorsal fin curved unnaturally to one side, a silent scar from decades in still water. Deep white marks lined his flanks, memories of conflict, of dominance, battles with other males. His presence demanded respect. His silence demanded caution. To the public, Moros was a spectacle, the star of Oyanis Park. He breached high, tail slapped dramatically, and soaked the front rows on cue. But trainers knew better. They knew about the moods, the long stretches of listless drifting, the sudden bursts of aggression, the subtle signals, jaw-popping, teeth grinding, the way he sometimes refused to follow commands without warning. And they knew about the past. Moros had been involved in 2 incidents before Elisa ever stepped into the park. One, a trainer overseas. The other, a man found lifeless on the whale's back, an intruder who had broken in after hours. Both stories were buried under press statements and internal reports, quietly shelved, quietly forgotten. But animals never forget. Experts warned of what captivity did to orcas. Or onto the poolside platform. Her wetsuit clung tightly to her frame, headset secure, hair tied back. Moros surfaced with a slow roll, spraying mist into the air as the crowd erupted in cheers. The show began. At first, it unfolded as expected, routine, rehearsed, familiar. Moros responded to hand signals, swam smooth arcs, and soaked the front row with a powerful tail slap. Elisa's movements were fluid, instinctual. She smiled, signaling the next sequence. But something was off. Moros hesitated. He missed a cue. His slide onto the platform was delayed. His tail struck the water harder than usual, so hard it echoed through the tank. Trainers watching from the sidelines exchanged glances. Elisa saw it too. Her brow furrowed, but her body remained steady. She didn't break rhythm. Instead, she adjusted, calming him with gentle gestures, using the techniques she had spent years perfecting. Then came the close contact maneuver. It was a familiar part of the routine. Elisa stood at the edge of the submerged platform, just inches above the water, face to face with Moros. She extended her right arm, signaling him to swim alongside her in tandem. For a moment, the world held its breath. A Witness, Chapter 2. 3. Moros, the fatal performance sitting in Section B, would later recall. He dipped under, then came up, just not where he should have. It was wrong. It felt wrong. Without warning, Moros lunged. His jaws clamped around Elisa's arm, dragging her into the water in one violent motion. Screams rang out. Children cried. And for a few terrible seconds, who had been there? No headline could capture the raw, paralyzing horror of what they had witnessed. Nix floated alone in the center of his pool, unmoving, his dorsal fin slicing the still water like a shadow. Around him, the pumps hummed and the bright stage lights now felt cold and indifferent. It was as though the energy of the stadium had been drained, leaving behind only the smell of salt and the echo of radios murmuring in the distance. There were no closing announcements, no apologies over the loudspeaker, only the low creak of gates locking and the quiet shuffle of trainers who could not meet each other's eyes. By sunset, the park's laughter was gone. All that remained was the image of a woman carried away beneath a sheet, and the deep, unspoken question that seemed to hang in the air. How had it come to this? The investigation began before the sun had even set. Law enforcement sealed off the stadium, collecting statements from staff and witnesses, while technicians pulled surveillance footage from every available angle. What they uncovered was damning. There had been warnings, internal memos from trainers noting Nix's unpredictable behavior, logs describing refusal to respond to cues, sudden aggression during rehearsals. Some reports even referenced earlier incidents in other facilities, but those concerns had been quietly filed away. To the public, Nix was a star attraction. Behind closed doors, he was a risk no one wanted to address too loudly. Within days, the tragedy dominated national headlines. Talk shows debated who was truly at fault. Was it the whale, the trainer, or the system that had put them in the same tank for the sake of entertainment? Outside SeaWorld Orlando's gates, two groups formed. One carried candles and photos of Elena Raines calling for greater safety standards to protect trainers. The other carried banners demanding Nix's release, their chants rising over the hum of traffic. Free Nix. Animal welfare organizations seized 1946 aftermath, investigation, and the fight to end Orca captivity the moment. They had warned for years that keeping apex predators in concrete enclosures was a tragedy waiting to happen. Now, the cost had a name and a face. SeaWorld issued a carefully crafted statement, calling it an unforeseen accident and expressing condolences to Elena's family. But to those who had worked alongside her, it was neither unforeseen nor accidental. Anonymous voices within the park began to speak to reporters, confirming that Nix had shown clear signs of agitation for months. For Elena's family, grief turned to resolve. They demanded accountability, not only for her death, but for a system that had normalized asking humans to trust an animal whose instincts could never truly be controlled. The debate was no longer confined to Orlando. It was a conversation echoing across the country, one that would challenge the very future of marine mammal performances. Nix never performed again. In the weeks following the tragedy, he was moved to an off-exhibit tank. No music, no lights, no crowds. To some, it was punishment. To others, a kind of mercy. Either way, it was silence. SeaWorld. Orlando felt the ripple of that silence in every corner. Attendance fell sharply. School groups canceled field trips that had once been tradition. Sponsors quietly withdrew. The stadium that had been filled with applause now carried only the hum of pumps and the echo of water lapping against concrete. Beyond the gates, change began to take shape. Federal safety regulations were tightened, banning trainers from entering tanks during live performances. The conversation shifted not just about one incident, but about the ethics of keeping wild predators in captivity at all. Elena Raines became more than a name in a headline. She became a symbol of dedication, of the fragile line between connection and control, of the price paid when instinct overpowers trust. And now her story belongs to all of us. So, what do you think? Should killer whales like Nix still perform for audiences? Or is their place only in the open ocean where they were born? Share your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear your perspective. If you believe stories like this matter, If you want the unfiltered truth behind the glass, hit the like button and subscribe to Animal Attack Archives. Because the ocean doesn't forget,